Good morning, everyone. This is Gary Kay. I'm very excited to have two very important guests today. Todd Bouman, first off, the president and CEO of Sharp NEC, the new Sharp NEC Corporation, combined companies. Mike Marusic, who's currently the president and CEO of Sharp Imaging and Information, which is still the same company that it was before. But now you're both part of one company, joint venture with Sharp and NEC together. First off, what a ride, huh?
Yeah, it's been an exciting ride. Long time in the coming since we made the initial announcement in March, and it's great to finally have it official at this point.
And Mike, you weren't really able to talk to each other until just recently because of all the laws surrounding mergers and our joint ventures and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we reached out to each other obviously when we heard it, and we said it'll be nice to talk one day, but I guess we can't talk yet. And so we kind of casually kept in touch with each other from a 50,000-foot level until it was formally announced and start communicating.
Yeah, and by the way, let's address point number one. Myself and others have even referred to this as a merger, and it's not a merger. It's been kind of a complicated thing, and I think this is a great opportunity to clear that up. Yeah. So explain how this worked and how it's a joint venture and how that's different. Mike, why don't we start with you? Explain sort of how this came about and what's different between it and a merger.
Yeah, so the Sharp display business, so to speak, is still the Sharp display business. So, we exist, our factories exist, all those things. The people who formerly, Japan all the way down to our organization who supported Sharp's display business are not part of the joint venture. And then there's the joint venture aspect of it, which is kind of, I guess, above both our pay grades, right, at the Sharp Corp level. And so I think Todd's probably better equipped to explain now, where the joint venture aspect comes in, which is part of his organization.
All right, Todd.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Probably the best way to think of it and the way that we've been explaining it to our partners, customers in the industry is it truly is a new company that was formed, right? It's Sharp NEC. So a new company that was formed with two primary investors. We have Sharp, who is the majority investor and shareholder, and NEC secondary. So the way that the company is structured, it's really brand new company for the AV industry. Organized and structured, as Mike said, continues on the Sharp side, also continues on what was the traditional NEC side. The biggest change was in Japan, where Nakatani-san, who is the worldwide president, reports into Sharp now. So joint venture that is a subsidiary of Sharp Corporation.
And the most obvious sort of thing that I would think that's going to come out of this is the new potential in product development, because now you have the engineering capabilities of two organizations combined into one. Todd, what do you think? How fast will we start seeing the results of that?
Yeah, I would think fairly quick. The point for the joint venture is certainly synergies in technology, very complementary, and the portfolios fit well together. So I would say fairly quickly you're going to see development efforts that are combined, focusing on strengths, right? And pulling together then what does a new roadmap look like? But of course, for now and for the unforeseen future, Sharp NEC will continue to sell the NEC brand, and Sharp will continue to sell the Sharp brand.
And Mike, Sharp has been the first to invent a number of technologies that I've seen. I remember like interactive whiteboards, which became collaboration boards. The first came from Sharp with the Aqueous board. The first time I ever saw 4K and the first time I ever saw 8K came from Sharp. Does the new Sharp NEC have access to all of this technology and resources for this new?
Yeah, it's part of Sharp Corp. So I think, over time, right, we'll figure out how to integrate those things. But, if I step back a year ago and said, hey, this consolidation in an industry, who would make the most sense, right?
Yeah.
Really Sharp and NEC. They're outstanding in certain categories that we don't play as well. And we have strengths in categories where they don't play as well. And I think as time goes by, we're going to figure out ways to integrate those two companies and leverage the technology. They have knowledge and intellectual property that we would love to leverage in our categories. We have things that they might love to leverage. So I think that's really, we just started that process of discussing those and how does it work. But, the short answer is obviously Sharp Corp has a vested interest in growing a display business, right? Both between, the Sharp brand on our side and the Sharp NEC brand on with Todd, and how do we make that work for both organizations in an optimal way? And ultimately, that's the best thing for the channel, right? The strength of two companies actually leveraging each other.
Yeah, and you are correct in that what Sharp had strength in, NEC needed, and what NEC has, Sharp needed. Like, you literally are probably the best complementary companies to put together in the display business, where you didn't have very many. If you could even argue no overlapping product categories, maybe you could argue the Infinity board and maybe the CB and the Aqueous board. But outside of that, there's really no product overlap. So what about the distribution? Do they benefit from now having access to everything, or how is that going to change, or what will we see changed with regard to integrators themselves and distribution strategies?
Well, it depends on how you define that. So obviously they have both today. And, as Todd mentioned, as we stand today, we are two separate companies, each going to the market with our own teams, right? Mm-hmm. But I'll let Todd speak to his area. Obviously, there's opportunities, within Sharp Corp. We have, not only in our AV channel, we have a, office products channel and a different distribution channel where, the NEC team and Todd's organization has outstanding product that we'd love to bring to them, which we think is a growth opportunity. But then, within the AV channel, there are two organizations. And then, longer term, it remains to be seen how we bring that together and how we leverage each other's assets. And, obviously Todd can speak better to, how he's going forward.
Yeah, so very, very similar as well, right? We clearly share similar channel partners from a distribution perspective and an AV perspective. But as Mike said, there's also strengths beyond just those traditional channels, whether it be in print copy or even in IT, that really provides great flexibility and expansion across the industry, right? Where, our goal is to continue to be easy to do business with. So clearly with this joint venture, it isn't to try to complicate things, but to even make it simpler and easier, but also to bring added value into the channel for our collective customers, right? So that we're really focused on bringing comprehensive solutions to market, less focused on the product and the technology.
And so obviously 2021 is going to be a big year for this because, at this point in time, at the end of the year, I guess most of what's going to be discussed is strategy and ideas rather than actually implementation. I think 2021 will see the big implementation. So when we see you at Infocom and ISEs, will there be a bigger combined booth kind of thing where you have all the products there, or will they still be? What do you think about that? Because when you're at a show like that, you're trying to grab the best attention you can. And NEC, let's face it, has a great location on the show floor at both those events. So, Mike, I'm sure you'd like to have some access to that, right?
I'm sure there's a fee that I could pay Todd to get access to that. Right? We haven't actually gotten that far, in those discussions. I think, you point out a logical thing, right?
Yeah.
The interesting part, even though we're two companies, we are owned by the same company, right?
Yeah.
And so therefore, we can talk to each other, we can work together, and we can collaborate. And I think that, that kind of combination of using the best of both groups, right, will really drive some kind of change that the industry hasn't had before. The ability for two companies really to leverage the best of both worlds. So we're not there yet. I know that, Todd would be more than willing to lend me a little bit of space or vice versa. I don't know where our boots are at different shows, but yeah, that's obvious opportunities down the line.
Yeah, and I'm sure Todd would love to get some of those projectors sold through those office supply organizations that are really dominating the distribution of IT products for sure. So, right. Yeah, I think this is a great thing for the industry. I thought it was good to have you both on just so that everyone could hear it directly from you. And of course, the companies have a combined president. I'll put a link on the description of this podcast. You can go check out the combined Sharp NEC display company, the new company. And of course, they're all over social. And I'll also put a link to Sharp Imaging as well, Mike, because obviously those are still two separate companies. But I appreciate you both being on. Congratulations on pulling this off. There have not been very many mergers that have actually gone as well as yours did, considering COVID too. Like
Right.
It was literally announced, if I remember correctly, right before the shutdowns happened, and then you pulled it off through COVID, which was probably the most difficult thing you could imagine. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching, everyone. And of course, you want to see all of our videocasts and podcasts, go to ravepubs.com. Everyone have a great day.